Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today we are taking on maybe one of the big ones.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about Moby Dick.
Moby Dick.
And, I know that some people might think, like, really? A book about whaling? From, like, forever ago?
Yeah.
And I get it, but I think
Well, and it's a long one.
it's a very long book. It
Yeah.
can be a little bit intimidating,
Mm.
but trust me, it's considered a classic for a reason. And we're going to talk about, kind of why it's still relevant today, even if you've never, been on a boat or
Yeah.
even seen a whale in person.
Yeah. I think what's really interesting about this book is how much it kind of gets at some really deep, like, human experiences.
Yeah.
Stuff that is just as relevant today as it was back then.
Yeah.
We're talking obsession, we're talking ambition,
Yeah.
our relationship with nature, even that age-old question of good versus evil.
Yeah.
Melville was really tapping into something kind of universal here.
Yeah. So for folks who maybe haven't read this book yet, let's set the scene.
Okay.
So it's the 19th century. Whaling is like a huge deal. It's like think of it like the oil boom, but with giant sea creatures.
Oh, right.
Our narrator, Ishmael, is this kind of like witty, observant dude.
Yeah.
And he's kind of, wants to escape the, everyday doldrums of life
Mm-hmm.
and decides to sign up for a whaling voyage.
Yeah.
Ends up on this ship called the Pequod, captained by the one and only Captain Ahab.
Yes.
And Ahab, this guy has a serious score to settle with this white whale named Moby Dick.
Yeah. So Ahab's story is like the original revenge plot. Like,
Yeah.
this whale took his leg and he has decided to dedicate his entire life to hunting this whale down.
Talk about holding a grudge.
I know, talk about holding a grudge, right? But here's where I think it gets really interesting, is that Ahab's obsession is like this really extreme, almost Shakespearean version of something that we all experience.
Yeah.
That desire for payback,
Right.
for control,
Yeah.
for proving ourselves, even if it kind of consumes us in the process.
Yeah, totally. It's like when you spill your coffee all over your brand new outfit. Yeah.
You're not going to go all Ahab and hunt down the coffee pot,
Right.
but you get that feeling of like, why me?
Yes, exactly.
That urge to like rage against the universe.
Exactly. And Melville takes that like everyday frustration
Yeah.
and he just like turns it up to 11
Yeah.
and shows us what happens when you let a single goal, a single desire kind of take over your entire being.
Yeah.
It's a cautionary tale for sure, but it's also like weirdly funny.
It is funny. We have to talk about the crew. I mean,
Yeah, the crew is
because we've got Queequeg,
yes,
this tattooed harpooner from a South Sea island,
right.
who becomes Ishmael's like best buddy.
Yeah, they're like besties.
And he's described as like noble, even civilized,
Yeah.
which, totally flips the script on that stereotypical image of the savage.
Oh, totally.
That was very common back then.
Yeah, and Queequeg is such a fascinating character, I think, because he's this total outsider,
Yeah.
but he challenges Ishmael's and our preconceived notions
Mm-hmm.
about like everything.
Yeah. And he's fiercely loyal. He's
Yeah.
so skilled. And his spiritual beliefs, they're different, but they're presented with so much like respect and even admiration by Melville.
Yeah, and you can't forget the scene where Queequeg washes his face with a harpoon.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
It's just one example of the like quirky humor
Yes.
that Melville kind of sprinkles throughout this whole epic story.
Yeah, I think the humor is really key because it balances out like the darkness, the intensity of
Yeah.
Ahab's obsession. It's
Yeah.
like Melville's reminding us not to take it all too seriously.
Yeah.
That even in the face of life's big questions, there's still room for a good chuckle.
Right. Like imagine being stuck on a ship for months with a
Right.
bunch of smelly sailors
Oh, yeah.
chasing a giant whale that might want to eat you for lunch.
Right.
You got to have a sense of humor to survive that.
Totally, you have to. But I think beneath the humor, there's this really profound exploration of like humanity's relationship with nature.
Yeah.
I mean, the ocean itself becomes like a character in this book.
Right.
This vast, unpredictable force that's both awe-inspiring and terrifying.
Yeah.
And then the whale, Moby Dick, well, he's more than just a whale. He's like a symbol of the untamed wildness
Right.
of the natural world.
Yeah.
Something we can never fully understand or control.
It's like that feeling you get when you see like a massive thunderstorm rolling in.
Yes.
Or you're standing at the edge of a canyon. You feel so small.
Yeah.
So insignificant compared to the power of nature.
Yeah. And that feeling is both scary and exhilarating at the same time.
It is.
It is. And Melville captures that perfectly.
Yeah.
He reminds us that we're not the masters of the universe. There are forces at play that are way bigger than us.
And that's a message that's probably even more relevant today
oh, for sure.
than it was in Melville's time. I mean, think about climate change. the destruction of habitats,
Yeah.
the plastic pollution in our oceans.
Yeah, we're constantly reminded that our actions have consequences, that
Yeah.
nature can bite back.
It's like Ahab trying to conquer Moby Dick. He thinks he can impose his will on nature,
Yeah.
bend it to his revenge plot.
Right.
But nature has other plans.
Exactly. Nature does not care.
And in the end, who really wins?
That is the question.
Yeah, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of all that later, but first I want to talk about the language.
Oh, yeah.
I know Moby Dick is famous for its long sentences and fancy words.
Yes, it is.
But honestly, some of those descriptions of the sea, the whales, the storms,
Oh, yeah.
it's like poetry in motion.
It is. I mean, Melville's language is definitely challenging.
Yeah.
But it's also incredibly beautiful.
Yeah.
It's like he's trying to paint a picture with words to make you feel the salt spray on your face, the wind whipping through your hair, the sheer immensity of the ocean surrounding you.
Yeah.
It's an immersive experience, even if
Yeah.
you're just sitting on your couch reading.
You know what's funny? Even though this book is set in the 19th century, Ishmael's voice feels surprisingly modern.
Yeah, totally.
Like he's got this wit, this dry humor, this way of overthinking things. That's totally relatable.
He would have killed it on Twitter.
I bet he would have.
Yeah.
So we've got these larger-than-life characters, this epic setting,
Yeah,
this incredible language, and these timeless themes.
it's all there.
But the question remains, is Moby Dick actually entertaining?
Ooh, good question.
Like, would a modern reader, somebody who's used to instant gratification and bite-sized content, actually enjoy this massive, challenging book?
That is the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think the answer is a resounding yes.
Okay.
Because beneath the surface of this 19th century whaling adventure, there's a story that's as gripping and as thought-provoking
Okay.
and as relevant today as ever.
Okay.
And maybe even a little bit hilarious.
All right. You've piqued my interest.
Okay.
Tell me more.
Okay.
What makes Moby Dick so darn entertaining for a modern audience?
Well, let's think about it for a second. I
Okay.
mean, Moby Dick is all about this intense, almost manic pursuit of a goal. Ahab's so fixated on revenge that he's willing to risk everything: his ship, his crew, his own life.
Hold on. Are you saying Captain Ahab is basically like an influencer?
Well, not exactly, but think about it.
Okay.
Ahab's white whale, it's like the ultimate influencer goal.
Okay.
This elusive mythical achievement that consumes him completely.
Yeah.
And just like those chasing online fame today,
Yeah.
he's willing to sacrifice everything to reach it.
Yeah.
He's got that whatever it takes mentality, even if it means dragging everyone down with him.
Okay, that's a wild comparison.
Yeah,
But I kind of see it.
right.
It's like he's trying to go viral by harpooning the biggest, baddest creature in the ocean.
Yeah, exactly.
Except instead of likes and followers,
Yeah.
he's after revenge.
Exactly. And just like on social media where everyone's trying to stand out to
Right.
be the biggest, the boldest, the most outrageous,
Mm-hmm.
Ahab's driven by this need to prove himself,
Yeah.
to conquer this ultimate symbol of power and wildness.
Yeah.
He's not just hunting a whale, he's hunting clout.
Wow. I never thought of it that way. But it makes sense.
Yeah.
And speaking of chasing clout, let's talk about the crew.
Oh, yeah, the true.
You've got this incredibly diverse group of guys from all walks of life, all thrown together on this crazy high-stakes adventure.
Yeah.
They're facing danger, sharing close quarters, forming bonds.
It's true.
It's like the ultimate reality show.
Right. It's Moby Dick meets Survivor.
Totally.
You've got the brooding captain with a hidden past,
Ahab.
Ahab.
Yep.
The loyal best friend,
Strict quick
Queequeg, the wide-eyed newbie,
Ishmael.
Ishmael, all the classic reality show archetypes.
I can totally see it.
Right.
They're even competing for the captain's attention.
Yes.
Except instead of winning $1 million or a date with a reality TV star,
Right.
they're,
Yeah.
trying not to get eaten by a giant whale.
Exactly. And just like those binge-worthy reality shows,
Yeah.
Moby Dick is full of twists and turns, moments of humor,
Mm.
and even some surprisingly deep philosophical questions. It's a story that keeps you on the edge of your seat,
Okay.
even though it was written almost 200 years ago.
Okay, but let's get real for a second.
Okay.
Whaling.
Yeah.
In the 19th century,
Mm-hmm.
it's not exactly the most relatable topic for a modern audience.
Right.
Why would anyone today care about a bunch of guys chasing whales across the ocean?
Well, here's the thing.
Okay.
The whaling is just the backdrop.
Okay.
It's the stage for this epic drama about human ambition, obsession, and our relationship with the natural world.
Hmm.
And those themes, they're as relevant today as ever.
I guess you're right. It's like we're all chasing our own white whales.
Yeah.
Even if they're not literal giant sea creatures.
Right.
Maybe it's that dream job, that perfect relationship, that the feeling of finally making it.
Yeah.
We all have something that drives us, that keeps us striving,
Totally.
even if it sometimes leads us down dangerous paths.
Exactly. And just like Ahab,
Yeah.
we sometimes get so caught up in the pursuit that we lose sight of what really matters.
Right.
We forget about the people around us, the beauty of the world we live in, the simple joys of being alive.
Okay, they got deep fast, but you're making me think.
Good.
And speaking of thinking, let's talk about the language.
Oh, the language.
I know some people find Melville's writing to be, well, a bit much.
Yeah.
All his long sentences, fancy metaphors, nautical jargon.
I know.
It can be intimidating,
It can.
even for a seasoned reader.
Oh, yeah. So,
Okay.
but here's the thing.
Okay.
Melville's language, it's not just about sounding smart or showing off his vocabulary.
Okay.
It's about creating an experience.
Okay.
About immersing you in this world. About making you feel the power and vastness of the ocean.
So it's like he's trying to create an ASMR experience with words.
That's a funny way of putting it. But yeah, kind of.
Okay.
He wants you to feel the salt spray on your face, the wind in your hair,
Yeah.
the creaking of the ship, the thunder of the waves crashing against the hull.
Yeah.
He's using language to create a sensory experience, to transport you to another time and place.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But all this talk about obsession, revenge, the vastness of the ocean, it's all very intense, very serious.
Right.
Is there any room for fun in Moby Dick?
Absolutely. Melville was a master of humor.
Yeah.
And he sprinkled it liberally throughout the book.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's subtle, a wry observation, a witty turn of phrase.
Okay.
Sometimes it's more overt, like that scene where Queequeg washes his face with a harpoon.
Oh, yeah, that was classic.
I know.
It's like, here's this guy who's supposed to be this fearsome savage,
Right.
and he's using a deadly weapon to watch his face.
Yeah.
It's so unexpected,
Yeah.
so absurd, it makes you laugh out loud.
Exactly. And that's what makes the humor in Moby Dick so effective.
Okay.
It sneaks up on you. It catches you off guard. It reminds you that even in the midst of this epic,
Yeah.
often tragic tale, there's still room for laughter, for absurdity, for the simple joy of being human.
And that's a message that's always relevant no matter what century you're living in. But we're just scratching the surface here, right? There's so much more to unpack.
So much.
So many layers to this story.
It's true.
So where do we go from here? What else makes Moby Dick speak to a modern audience?
Well, let's talk about friendships, specifically the friendship between Ishmael and Queequeg.
Ah, yes, the bromance of the century.
Yeah.
But seriously, what's so special about their friendship,
Yeah.
especially for somebody listening today?
Well, think about it. Ishmael and Queequeg come from totally different worlds.
Yeah.
I mean, they have different backgrounds, different beliefs, different ways of looking at the world.
Yeah.
But they find common ground.
Yeah.
They learn from each other, and they become like closer than brothers.
It's like that moment when you meet someone who's totally different from you, but somehow you just click.
Yeah.
You connect on a deeper level despite your differences.
Exactly.
And that connection, it enriches your life, expands your perspective,
Yeah.
challenges you to grow.
Totally. And in a world that often feels increasingly divided, I think that message of like finding connection across differences
Yeah.
is more important than ever.
Totally.
Ishmael and Queequeg's friendship, it's a reminder that we can build bridges instead of walls, that we can find common ground even in the midst of diversity.
It's like they're not just shipmates, they're soulmates.
Okay.
But let's be real. The book isn't all sunshine and roses.
Right.
It's got some pretty dark moments, some intense psychological stuff going on.
Yeah.
Is that something that a modern audience can even relate to?
Absolutely. I mean, Melville was a master of exploring the darker side of human nature.
Okay.
Obsession, revenge, the destructive power of ambition. And those are themes that are just as relevant today as they were back then.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Haven't we all felt that pull of envy, that desire to get ahead, even at the expense of others?
Yeah.
Haven't we all struggled with feelings of anger, resentment, even a thirst for revenge?
It's like that saying, living well is the best revenge. But sometimes it's easier said than done.
It is. And that's what makes Moby Dick so compelling, I think.
Yeah.
It doesn't shy away from the messiness of human emotions. It shows us the consequences of letting those negative emotions take over,
Right.
of letting them drive our actions.
So it's like a cautionary tale, but also a strangely relatable one.
Totally.
It's saying, hey, we all have these dark impulses, these moments of weakness.
Yeah.
But it's how we deal with them that defines who we are.
Exactly. And that's a message that's as timeless as it gets. But let's not forget about the visuals. I mean, come on.
Oh, yeah.
Giant whales, epic storms, a ship battling the elements.
It's a movie.
This book is practically begging for a big-budget movie adaptation.
Seriously. It's like Pirates of the Caribbean meets National Geographic.
I know.
Just imagine those stunning underwater shots, the close-ups of the harpoons flying through the air,
Yes.
the dramatic tension of the final confrontation with Moby Dick.
Right, and Melville's language is so vivid, so cinematic. I mean, he paints these incredible pictures with words, describing the ocean, the whales, the storms, in such detail that you can practically feel the spray of the sea on your face.
Okay, you've convinced me.
Good.
Moby Dick has got the adventure, the drama, the psychological depth, even the visuals.
It's all there?
But there's one thing I still don't get.
Yeah, okay.
Why is it considered a classic?
Hmm.
I mean, it's a great story, but what makes it stand the test of time?
Well, I think it's because Moby Dick speaks to something really fundamental about the human experience.
Okay.
That search for meaning in a vast, often indifferent universe.
Yeah.
It asks the big questions, who are we? What is our place in the world?
Yeah.
What are we willing to sacrifice for our dreams?
You're right.
And those questions, they're as relevant today as they were in Melville's time, maybe even more so.
Wow, that's pretty deep. So you're saying that even though the book is about whaling in the 19th century, it's really about something much bigger, something that transcends time and place.
Exactly. It's about the human condition, about our struggles and triumphs, about the choices we make and the consequences we face. And it's about the enduring power of storytelling.
Yeah.
How a book written almost 200 years ago can still speak to us today.
Right.
Can still make us laugh, cry, think, and question everything we thought we knew.
So what does this all mean for our listeners?
Yeah.
What's the takeaway from our deep dive into Moby Dick?
Well, it means that this book, this seemingly old-fashioned tale of whaling and obsession, is actually a surprisingly relevant and engaging read for a modern audience.
Okay.
It's got adventure drama humor, even a bit of romance.
Okay.
But it also asks some really profound questions about our place in the world.
Yeah.
About the choices we make, and about the power of human connection. And in a world that often feels overwhelming and confusing, those are questions worth pondering.
Beautifully put. So there you have it. Deep divers. We've explored the depths of Moby Dick, and hopefully we've convinced you that this classic tale is worth a read, even if you're more into TikTok than tall ships.
Yeah.
Who knows, you might just find yourself hooked on this epic journey of obsession, revenge, and the search for meaning in a vast and wondrous world.
And remember, the next time you're scrolling through your feed feeling that pull of comparison, that urge to chase the next big thing, think about Captain Ahab and his white whale. Ask yourself, what are your white whales?
Oh.
And are you, like Ahab, in danger of being consumed by the pursuit?
Those are some deep thoughts to ponder. Well, deep divers, we've reached the end of our journey. We encourage you to check out Moby Dick for yourselves and draw your own conclusions. Until next time, keep diving deep.